Take a seat.
Good afternoon, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to make 2 points first before I introduce our speaker this afternoon. Firstly, the Press Club is delighted to partner the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies for today's talk. So for those who are part of the IC's family, welcome to our eminent speaker series. Secondly, I want to tell you that we are experimenting with something new. Today's event is being webcast live by Razor TV. So I just got a message from a colleague from the office saying, I can see you're giving Leslie Fong a hard time. It's my great pleasure to introduce our speaker for this afternoon. Raymond Lim is, of course, Minister for Transport and the Second Minister for Foreign Affairs. He is a Member of Parliament for the East Coast GRC. Mr. Lim was educated at Raffles Institution. He first won a Colombo Plan scholarship to study economics at Adelaide University. He then won a Rhodes Scholarship and did law at Oxford. So he's both an economist and a lawyer. And after that, he went to Cambridge University and obtained a master's degree in public international law. He started work first as a law lecturer at the National University of Singapore. He was there from 1987 to 1991, when we enticed him over to join the Straits Times. Unfortunately, he was such a good economics writer and made such an impact that before we knew it, he was poached by the financial sector. He spent many years in the financial sector. He was first research director for Kim Eng Securities from 1992 to 98. Then chief economist for Asia for ABN AMRO Asia Securities from 98 to 2000. Then CEO of DBS Securities from 2000 and 2001. And then for a brief period, he was managing director for strategic overview of businesses at Temasek Holdings. He was also founding member of the Round Table. Some of you may remember the political discussion group. Again, he made such an impact there that he was very soon tapped by the People's Action Party to stand for elections. So he was first elected to Parliament in 2001. He was immediately appointed Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and Minister of State for Trade and Industry. Then in 2003, he was given the additional responsibility of being Minister of State in charge of entrepreneurship. And in this capacity, he launched the Action Community for Entrepreneurship, which I was very pleased to join and work closely with him. In 2005, a short 4 years after entering Parliament, he was made full minister in the Prime Minister's office, plus Second Minister for Finance and Second Minister for Foreign Affairs. This happens only in Singapore, 3 portfolios in one. In 2006, he became Minister for Transport, I should say First Minister for Transport, while continuing to serve concurrently as Second Minister for Foreign Affairs. And in 2006, he was re-elected to his seat in the East Coast GRC. Those of you who've read my colleague Han Fuk Kwang's column in the Straits Times today would have learned that he's currently presiding over quite a major shift in Singapore's transport policy. He's taken a fair bit of flack for it. Lots of funny videos about ERP gantries, etc. But I'm happy to say that with his journalism training, he has handled this with great poise and equanimity, if I may say. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to invite Raymond Lim to speak to us about land transport, different interests, common goal. Minister, please.
Mr. Patrick Daniel, Mr. Leslie Fong, Ambassador Kesavapani, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be here today. It is, in a sense, a homecoming for me. I joined the Straits Times, like Pat said, in 1991. I love to write, and Leslie Fong approached me and asked, why not join the Straits Times, and I did. In many ways, it was a different world then. No handphones, no emails, no Razor TV, telecast live. And the Straits Times still had the stock prices in its money pages. Yeah. I'm one of those 1% that read it every morning. So on the 8th of August, when I turned to the back page and couldn't find the stock prices, I thought there must have been a mistake. So I went through it several times. But I've been told that, well, only 1% read it. So on balance, the Straits Times decided not to have the stock pages in there. Yet in many ways, it remains the same. Newsmakers have the capacity still to spoil your weekends or your evenings by holding events that you have to cover just in case something earth-shattering is announced. Often not the case. I remember once, when I was a journalist, I had to cancel at the last minute an evening outing with my then 2-year-old son because a minister was attending a mid-autumn festival event. So I protested, but my supervisor, she said, you have to go just in case he says something newsworthy. So I went. The minister concentrated on eating his mooncakes. I had none, no story, no mooncakes. Yeah. As many of you are aware, in January this year, we launched the Land Transport Master Plan. It took us more than a year. We said in October 2006, we're going to look into this. We engage as many people as possible. If you look at the screen, 3 major trusts: promoting public transport as a choice mode, managing road usage, and meeting diverse needs. We have moved decisively on measures that we can implement immediately. So those of you who have followed this matter closely, or regular commuters, you would have felt, I think, the difference. SMRT, together with SBST, they have put out now, together, I think, close to 800 additional train trips a week. Bus frequency have gone up. We have expanded the bus lanes so that to increase bus speeds, and also have a wider menu of premium bus. I think this week SMRT announced 6 additional new premium buses. So where we could move quickly, we have done so. Some of the measures are more longer term. We are doubling the rail network. In 12 years' time, we're spending close to $40 billion. So within 12 years, you have doubled the network. What it means for the commuter is that if you're in the city area, you will be about 5 minutes walk or 400 meters from a train station. We are also doing central planning of buses and introducing distance-based true fare for our public transport system. Now, implementing change involves its own set of challenges. Different groups of people are impacted in different ways. Those who benefit, they will support this. Those who feel that they may not get the benefits immediately or think that they will lose out, they'll be unhappy. They say, why penalize me? Why now? Why me? Now, in a classic episode of Yes Minister, the Minister for Administrative Affairs, some of you who have watched that have long memories, Jim Hacker, was once asked by the Prime Minister to try to resolve a transport crisis, a crisis which the Transport Secretary himself did not want to resolve. Yeah, but they asked Jim Hacker. So Jim Hacker said, well, yes, I'll do it. Went back, told his permanent secretary, Sir Humphrey, they now had this additional responsibility. And Sir Humphrey was appalled. He said, Minister, when it comes to transport policy, it means you have to make policies. And policies means making choices. And when you make a choice, you please the people you favor and infuriate everyone else. Yeah. And there is, of course, the kernel of truth here. So in transport policy, one of the key things that we had to look at really is to focus on what is the long-term position that we think would benefit Singaporeans as a whole, and to make the necessary trade-offs, because, as I said, there are different interests. And this is the focus of my talk today. So let me first address the question, why now? Now, some people have argued that maybe some of the measures we have, why not postpone it? They're worried that, say, with the public transport changes, that they might see large public transport fare increases. Or they are concerned that with the enhancement of the ERP system, that they'll end up paying more ERP on a daily basis. So they said, well, why don't you postpone all this? Now, at the time of rising costs, I take this concern seriously. Where we can postpone a decision, we will do so. But there are some decisions that we need to take a hard look and ask ourselves, is it necessarily better for us if we were to postpone it? You take the ERP. If you look at the data, say from 1997 to 2004, the car population went up by about 10%. Car trips doubled that, 23%. Road growth, about 5%. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist to come to the conclusion that if this continues, the roads will get more and more congested. A UK journalist writing for the UK Telegraph, November last year, he wrote a piece to a British audience, and he said that if you have the opportunity to work in Singapore as an expatriate, grab it. He says the food is good, the entertainment is good, living conditions is good, but peak hour traffic jam is now a norm. LTA's data support this. Before we moved this year, if you look within the city area, traffic speeds have come off by about 20%. So this is the background. The congestion was building up. We were getting a lot of feedback. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, they constantly meet up with financial investors. The feedback then was that the city is changing. Congestion is becoming more and more of a problem. Now, if you were to switch hats from being a journalist to becoming the transport minister, what would you do? I know you're all very bright people and you all have a sense of humor. You would say, well, it's just bad karma, pray. Yeah. The gods have a sense of humor. In fact, I blame Han Fook Kwang for this. He's not here today, but I blame him because he assigned me to do this inside piece and set in train this chain of events. Now, according to the Straits Times, when it comes to public transport fares, it is 4 hot potatoes, right? They put 5, they put 4. So I suppose when it comes to ERP, it's 5 hot potatoes. So one option is to do nothing. Just do nothing. Yeah. It'll make you, well, perhaps in the short term, more popular. Some cities have done so. Some major capital cities, they've taken this route. They do nothing about it. Michael Bloomberg, mayor of New York, he wanted to do something. You're looking at the congestion situation in Manhattan. He says we ought to act. But the state assemblymen, they chickened out. So the measure was never passed. The concern was the people in the outer borough, the residents in the outer borough, was kicking up a huge fuss. Because they said, well, it means that they have to pay when they come into the inner borough. So the end result was do nothing. So what do you have in New York today? Gridlock. Both at the outer borough and the inner borough. Closer home, if you look at Jakarta, the Straits Times Carrier report sometime back, they said for a daily commute in the city, 6 hours. 3 hours to get to your place of work, 3 hours back. 6 hours. So the Jakarta city administrators, they're thinking of ERP-type congestion pricing. Probably not so soon, the elections are coming, but they say they're thinking about it. The congestion is so bad in Jakarta that the traffic police can't enforce the law by using their motor cars or by their motorcycles. They have to go by rollerblades. So Jakarta traffic policemen are trained to use rollerblades. So this is something that we can't postpone. We have to act now. What is at stake is how competitive Singapore is, our quality of life. Now, some have argued, say, what is wrong with a little congestion? If we have the same level of congestion as in Bangkok or in Jakarta here in Singapore, it will make for a very different Singapore. And what we would have done then by postponing it is to make the underlying situation worse. You then get a situation where even if cost is rising, it will be compounded by income falling as the economic arteries of the country get clogged up. Let me just draw an analogy. Most of you know what is the body mass index, or BMI. And the Health Promotion Board tells you what's your BMI. It reaches about 23. Well, that's a red flag. You increase your risk of heart disease or diabetes. So you should go on a diet. Similarly, the Land Transport Authority, they monitor the traffic conditions on our road. And if it reaches a certain threshold, 20 kilometers per hour for the arterial roads, they say, well, we have to take action to ensure that the economic arteries are not clogged up.
Take a seat.